He stood in front of the mirror, but the reflection no longer felt like him. The glass was coated in dust. Time's silent verdict. Somewhere along the way, the fire in his eyes had dulled, the posture of purpose bent, the clarity of self clouded, and in that moment, staring into the blurred silhouette of what once was, a question formed: what happened to my value? We are all born with an inner brilliance, not one of external grandeur, but of raw, untapped potential, a quiet, deep knowing that we were made for something more. But as time moves, as distractions multiply and the world grows louder, that inner brilliance dims, not because it has vanished, but because it has been buried beneath expectations, buried beneath failure, buried beneath fear. You see, the tragedy isn't that people live without realizing their potential. The true tragedy is that they stop looking for it. They stop believing they have it. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked in the mirror? Not to fix your hair or your shirt, but to truly search your soul, not the surface, the depth. Because that mirror, though dusty, is honest, brutally honest. It reflects not just who you are, but who you've allowed yourself to become. And more importantly, it begs the question, are you becoming more valuable or just more visible? In a world obsessed with image, with visibility, with curated perfection, we often forget the deeper pursuit, the pursuit of value. Value is not about being known. It's about being worthy of being known. It's not in the number of followers. It's not in your title. It's not in how many people admire you from a distance. True value is in how many people would miss you if you disappeared. It's in the problems you solve, the peace you bring, the strength you radiate when storms rage around others. And here's the truth. Value is not found. It is forged. It is carved in solitude. It is built in discipline. It is polished through persistence. Every day, every moment, you are either constructing it or letting it decay. The mirror of worth will always show you the truth, but most walk away too quickly to face it. They fear what they'll see, because the mirror does not lie. It reveals the potential that was neglected, the fire that was left unlit, the greatness that remained a draft, never published into the world. And yet, if you dare to look longer, if you push past the discomfort, something else begins to emerge. A flicker, a shadow, a whisper, the person you could still become. You see, that version of you is not gone. It's simply waiting, patiently, for you to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. That version of you doesn't beg for permission. It builds capability. It doesn't seek approval. It seeks alignment. It doesn't chase relevance. It crafts resonance. Deep, lasting, undeniable. And the beautiful thing is this: no one can give you your value. No certification, no praise, no paycheck can create it. Only you can. You create value by the focus you apply, the habits you cultivate, the vision you refuse to abandon. You create it every time you keep going when it would be easier to quit. Every time you choose depth over distraction, purpose over popularity, legacy over likes. This isn't motivation. This is remembrance. You were born worthy, but worth alone is not value. Value is worth activated, and to activate it you must look in the mirror, not to judge, but to awaken, not to compare, but to commit. Because here is what I promise you: no matter how far you've drifted, how dull your reflection may seem, how long it's been since you felt alive, value can be rebuilt, and it starts right now. So take one more look. Let the dust remind you not of what's been lost, but of what can still be revealed. You are not here to pass time. You are here to build it. You are here to become more valuable than ever before. What is a diamond before it's cut? A stone, unassuming, overlooked. But place it in the hands of a master, polish it with patience, shape it with purpose, and suddenly that same stone becomes priceless. You see, value isn't just what something is, it's what it becomes when its essence is awakened, refined, and directed. But when it comes to people, we get this all wrong. In our culture, value is often confused with visibility, with noise, with image. We are taught to chase recognition, to build platforms, to gather attention like currency. And yet we rarely stop to ask, am I actually becoming valuable or just louder? So let's strip away the illusion. True value is not determined by how many people applaud you. It is not built on your resume, your net worth, or the opinions of strangers. True value is the inner weight of your being, your usefulness, your character, your ability to solve real problems, and your willingness to do what others won't. It is invisible at first, but undeniable in time. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose. It's the man or woman who knows who they are, what they stand for, and what they are building, day by day, with unwavering resolve. That person is not easily shaken. They are not waiting to be chosen. They are choosing themselves every single day. You want to know what real value looks like? It's the mentor who shows up, even when they're tired. It's the leader who makes hard decisions for the good of many, not the comfort of one. It's the skilled worker who goes beyond good enough and instead delivers excellence without applause. It's the woman who suffers in silence, but still carries others when they can't carry themselves. Real value is rare, not because it's hard to find, but because so few are willing to become it. Why? Because becoming valuable requires a deep, sustained commitment to self-mastery. It means trading distraction for discipline, comfort for courage, vanity for virtue, and most of all, it means being more concerned with who you are when no one is watching than who you appear to be when everyone is. There's a reason why some people are irreplaceable, why their absence is felt, and their presence respected. It's because they bring something more than talent. They bring weight, gravity, depth. They don't just fill space, they shift it. And here's the law. One Hill repeated often. The world pays you in direct proportion to the value you create. Not someday, not after someone discovers you, right now. So if you're not being paid what you believe you're worth, financially, emotionally, spiritually, the answer is not to demand more. The answer is to become more focused, more skilled, more rooted, more aligned. Stop asking the world to see your worth. Ask yourself, what am I building that would make my value undeniable? You see, too many people are waiting to be found, waiting for a lucky break, waiting for someone to notice their potential. But potential is cheap, execution is expensive, and the marketplace of life only rewards one thing: useful, rare, deeply rooted value. So today, define what value means for you, not by someone else's standards, but by your purpose. Ask yourself, what do I solve that others avoid? Where am I irreplaceable? What character do I carry into every room, even when no one thanks me for it? Because that is value. It's not about being needed. It's about being capable and choosing to serve anyway. It's not about being seen. It's about becoming so excellent that the world cannot ignore you. Imagine a beam of sunlight, harmless, gentle. It warms your skin but leaves no mark. Now take that same light and pass it through a magnifying glass. Suddenly, it becomes fire. It ignites. It transforms. That is the power of focused energy. And that is the greatest enemy of your value: scattered focus. You may have all the talent in the world. You may have vision, potential, ambition. But if your focus is fractured, if your attention is hijacked, you will spend your life warm, but never on fire. We live in an era of endless input, notifications, headlines, messages, opinions. Distractions are no longer occasional. They are constant. They don't knock politely at your door. They crawl into your pocket, into your thoughts, into your very identity, and slowly, silently, they steal your power, because every time you split your attention, you dilute your value, not just in the work you do, but in the presence you bring, in the depth of your thought, in the clarity of your path. Scattered focus leads to scattered living. You move, but don't advance. You speak, but don't resonate. You work, but never truly create. Napoleon Hill warned of this long before smartphones and social media. He called it drifting, a mind without direction, a man without definiteness. Drifters never become great because they never commit. And isn't that what scattered focus really is? An avoidance of commitment. You don't commit to the deep work because distraction is easier. You don't commit to silence because noise keeps you from facing yourself. You don't commit to one path, one skill, one mission, because part of you fears what might happen if you truly gave your all. So you scroll, you react, you drift, and while you do, someone else is focusing, someone else is building, someone else is becoming valuable. Let that sink in. Every moment you give to meaningless input, you are trading away moments that could have been used to forge greatness. Focus isn't just about productivity, it's about identity. Where you place your attention becomes who you are. If you focus on fear, you become anxious. If you focus on failure, you become hesitant. If you focus on mastery, purpose, discipline, you become dangerous in the best way. So how do you reclaim your focus? First, by treating it as sacred, not casual, sacred. Would you hand over your bank account to a stranger? Of course not. But every day, people hand over their attention, their mental real estate, to algorithms, trends, and empty noise. You must begin to guard your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Second, create boundaries, not just with people, but with your time, your thoughts, your inputs. Block out space for deep work. Create tech-free zones. Start your day before the world has a chance to pull you in. Third, practice the art of saying no. No to the urgent, so you can say yes to the important. No to shallow conversations, so you can engage in deep thinking. No to scattered tasks, so you can master meaningful ones. And finally, train your mind. Just like a muscle, focus strengthens through resistance. Begin small, 10 minutes of undistracted attention. Then grow, stretch, expand. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. You want to be more valuable? Then become less available to everything that does not grow, shape, or strengthen you. Remember, your value in the world is limited only by your ability to direct your energy with purpose. A scattered mind cannot build a focused legacy. So the next time you feel tempted to check that notification, to bounce from task to task, to scroll without aim, pause. Ask yourself, is this making me more valuable or more distracted? Because in the end, greatness isn't built in broad strokes. It's carved in focused effort, in single-minded devotion, in choosing depth over distraction, moment by moment, day by day. There is a kind of man who walks into a room, and the energy shifts, not because he is loud, not because he is famous, but because he is present, entirely, unmistakably present. His eyes don't wander, his words don't waste, his actions don't drift. He is focused, and because he is focused, he is dangerous, not in chaos, but in clarity. In the modern world, distractions are cheap and abundant, but focus is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. We live in a society that teaches us to divide our attention, divide our priorities, divide our souls across screens, trends, and opinions. We glorify multitasking, hustle, and noise. But greatness has always belonged to the focused few. You want to build something meaningful? You want to stand out in a world that can't stop scrolling? You want to lead, influence, and create? Then you must understand this truth. Focus is the currency of modern greatness, not talent, not charisma, not even intelligence. Focus, because without it, your talents scatter, your potential leaks, your time becomes a blur of busyness without impact. Now here's the paradox. The more focused you become, the more freedom you unlock. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? We think freedom is doing whatever we want, whenever we want. But that kind of freedom is often a disguise for weakness. True freedom, the kind that builds legacies, comes from devotion to a higher aim, a purpose that narrows your choices, but multiplies your power. Focus is the gatekeeper between intention and execution. It is the invisible force that separates the dreamers from the doers. It is the engine behind deep work, mastery, and strategic action. Napoleon Hill wrote that definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. But purpose without focus is like fire without fuel. It flickers, but it does not last. It warms, but it does not transform. And make no mistake, Focus is not simply about paying attention. It is about intentional exclusion. It's not just knowing what to do, it's knowing what to ignore. If you study the lives of great men and women, philosophers, inventors, warriors, leaders, you'll find a common thread. They practiced intentional simplicity. They cut out noise, distraction, and redundancy. They protected their mornings. They scheduled time to think. They made their values visible in their calendars. They didn't just have goals. They had systems that guarded their focus. Because here's the truth. Few want to face. Focus is not a gift. It is a discipline. One you train like a soldier. One you protect like a fortress. One you sharpen like a blade. And it costs you something. It costs you convenience. It costs you comfort. It costs you the shallow highs of immediate gratification. But in return, it gives you power. The power to shape reality. The power to build something others only talk about. The power to become what few dare to pursue. Undeniably valuable. Focus also means choosing depth over width. Most people dabble. They sample this, test that, move on to the next shiny thing. But the masters, the ones who write books that live for centuries, who build empires that stand after they're gone, they choose one thing, and they go deep. It might be a craft, a mission, a calling, but whatever it is, they marry it. They surrender to it. They shape themselves around it until their focus becomes their identity. So ask yourself, what would happen if you gave yourself permission to simplify, to say, this is my path, to eliminate distractions that do not align, to stop chasing applause and start chasing alignment? You don't need 50 goals. You need one obsession, one mission that is so compelling, so urgent, so deeply aligned with your soul, that it forces you to rise, that drags discipline out of you when motivation dies, that narrows your life, not to make it smaller, but to make it stronger. Because here's what they don't teach you. Every genius was once just a focused beginner. Every leader was once an apprentice who paid attention. Every legend was once a person who decided, this matters more than everything else. And when you make that decision, you unlock the gate to uncommon achievement, not because it will be easy, but because it will be worth it. So today, choose focus. Train it like a muscle. Feed it like a fire. Honor it like a sacred gift. Because in the modern world, the most powerful man is not the noisiest. He is the most focused. There are two kinds of power in this world, the power to do and the power to endure. One is built in the hands, the other in the heart. Combine them, and you become unstoppable. In today's world, people are quick to chase skill. They want to be marketable, competitive, in demand, and that's important. Skill gives you leverage. Skill gets you in the room. Skill creates opportunities. But here's what few understand. Skill alone is not enough, because skill may open the door, but character is what keeps it open. We've seen it time and time again. Brilliant minds fall from grace. Talented voices silenced by scandal. Leaders with incredible potential collapse under the weight of poor choices. Why? Because while they built their craft, they neglected their core. You see, skill is external. It's what you do. But character is internal. It's who you are when no one's watching. It's what you bring into every room that no resume can list and no degree can certify. True value, lasting value, is born at the intersection of these two forces. Take a skilled person without character, and you get arrogance, manipulation, and short-term gain. Take a person with character, but no skill, and you get good intentions with no impact. But put them together, skill sharpened by discipline, character forged in silence. Now you have weight, power, legacy. Napoleon Hill called this applied faith. When a person not only develops ability, but lives with unwavering principle. They don't just talk about integrity, they embody it. They don't seek shortcuts. They honor the long road. They don't blame circumstances. They take responsibility. And when you find someone like that, a person who can do the work and hold the line, you've found someone the world cannot ignore. Think of the greats. Marcus Aurelius was not just a Roman emperor, he was a philosopher, a warrior of wisdom. He didn't just command armies, He commanded himself. His Stoic writings didn't come from theory, but from daily discipline of the mind and soul. Or consider Nelson Mandela. His leadership wasn't merely political, it was moral. He spent 27 years in prison and came out not bitter, but better. He emerged with forgiveness, clarity, and the character to unite a nation. That kind of leadership is rare, because it's earned, not taught. So ask yourself, are you building skills only to impress others or to solve real problems? Are you crafting your character in private, so your name carries weight in public? Are you willing to master both your craft and your code? Because here's the truth. In the marketplace of life, people don't just pay for what you do, they pay for who you are while doing it. A problem solver with discipline, a communicator with integrity, a leader with humility, a creator with consistency. These are rare combinations, and what is rare is valuable. Skill can be taught in a classroom, but character is built in the quiet moments when you show up even when no one claps. When you do the right thing, especially when it costs you. When you make excellence a standard, not a strategy. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Because skill may win you the day, but character wins you the decade. So don't just study harder. Stand taller. Don't just build faster. Build deeper. Don't just speak louder. Speak truer. Because when your hands can produce and your heart can endure, you become the kind of person who doesn't just play the game, you change it. The world is full of noise. Be the one with substance. There's a frequency at which most people live, just above survival, just below purpose. It's filled with noise, urgency, and self-interest. But every so often, someone rises, someone taps into a higher signal, one that isn't about what they can get, but what they can give. That's where true greatness lives. That's the higher frequency. If value is what you bring, then service is how you deliver it. And not just service in the transactional sense, not serving because it's expected or because it pays, but service that comes from conviction, from a calling deep within the soul that says, I am here not to take, but to elevate. This is rare, because most people are trapped in a loop of self-focus. What do I get out of this? What's in it for me? How does this benefit my goals? And they wonder why they feel unfulfilled, unseen, and unanchored. It's because they're tuned into the wrong frequency, the frequency of lack. But when you shift into a higher vibration, when your question becomes, how can I solve something meaningful? How can I serve with depth? How can I leave others better than I found them? You move from lack to legacy. Because the truth is, you don't become valuable by demanding more. You become valuable by becoming more intentional, more useful, more in service to something beyond yourself. Think of every timeless leader, visionary, or thinker who changed the world. Not one of them did it by obsessing over self-preservation. They rose by sacrificing comfort for contribution. Their mission outgrew their ego. Mother Teresa served the poor, not because it was profitable, but because her soul couldn't ignore their suffering. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't march for applause. He marched for principle. He spoke, not to be heard, but to lift others higher. That's what it means to serve at a higher frequency. You're no longer operating from scarcity. You're moving from a place of spiritual surplus. You don't need to be the loudest. You just need to be the most sincere. When you live at this frequency, everything shifts. You become a force instead of a follower. You command trust not because of your title, but because of your truth. People feel safer, stronger, and more seen in your presence, not because you seek attention, but because you offer intention. This is the type of value that can't be automated, copied, or replaced, because it's energetic, it's personal, it's transformational. You may ask, but won't I be taken advantage of if I just give and serve? The answer is not if you serve with strength. Serving at a higher frequency does not mean being passive, it means being purposeful. It's not about pouring from an empty cup. It's about building yourself so full of wisdom, love, clarity, and value that your overflow blesses others naturally. That's the kind of presence that changes teams, changes cultures, changes lives. You see, anyone can sell a product. Few can deliver purpose. Anyone can climb the ladder. Few can lift others as they climb. Anyone can make noise, but only the rare can resonate. And you want to know why those people become irreplaceable? Because they're not just building skills, they're building trust. They're not just managing people, they're mentoring souls. They're not just chasing goals, they're living in alignment with service. So today, ask yourself, who can I serve with depth, not just with speed? Where am I operating from ego? And where can I shift to empathy? What pain can I help heal with the tools I've already gained? Your presence is either a transaction or a transformation. Choose transformation, because in the end, the world doesn't remember the ones who shouted the loudest or collected the most likes. It remembers those who served when no one clapped, who showed up with value when it wasn't convenient, who lived and led at a higher frequency. And that frequency is calling you. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. And that design is written in the ink of your daily decisions. Most people are chasing a breakthrough, a lightning strike of transformation, a single moment that changes everything. But life doesn't work that way. Not for the ones who build legacies. Greatness isn't found in the big moments. It's found in the small, repeated ones. The ones that feel ordinary. The ones no one sees. Because becoming valuable, truly valuable, is not an event. It's an architecture. A structure you construct, brick by brick, choice by choice. What you do today, repeated tomorrow, is what builds the version of you that the world cannot ignore. You want to lead? Start with how you carry yourself before anyone is watching. You want to be respected? Start with how you respect your own word. When the alarm goes off, when the phone tempts you, when procrastination whispers, you want to grow. Start by carving time every single day for self-mastery, not scrolling. This is what most won't tell you. The extraordinary is built through boring consistency, through the rituals no one celebrates, through the silence of discipline, through the commitment to live in alignment with your future self, even when your current mood resists. You're not just working a job, you're sculpting identity. You're not just reading a book, you're installing wisdom. You're not just showing up, you're shaping a legacy. Every day is a blueprint. You can either draft it with purpose, or let the winds of distraction design it for you. And here's where the wise stand apart from the wanderers. They pre-decide who they are becoming. They don't wait for motivation. They build systems. They don't rely on willpower. They create environments that reinforce their values. They don't hope to become great. They live in a way that greatness becomes inevitable. Think of a world-class athlete. The game isn't won on the field. It's won in the 5 a.m. workouts, in the lonely nights of recovery, in the careful rituals of food, thought, and training. Think of a philosopher. His words aren't born in applause. They're forged in solitude, in journaling, in deliberate self-examination. You must treat your life like an architect treats a cathedral, with vision, with structure, with reverence. Ask yourself, what rituals define me today? What identity am I reinforcing in the first hour of my morning? What distractions must I demolish to build this structure of self-worth? Because when your days are aligned, your destiny becomes inevitable. The successful don't leave their lives to chance. They design them with obsession. They know the cost of drifting, and they refuse to be defined by yesterday's habits. So design your day like your life depends on it, because it does. Plan, execute, reflect, repeat. Every repetition is a vote for who you are becoming. And remember, there are no neutral days. Every action either builds the person you were meant to be or delays your arrival. So build, daily, deliberately, devoutly. The architecture of your value is not found in what you intend to do, but in what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. The loudest battles are not fought in boardrooms or arenas. They are fought in silence, between your ears, behind your eyes, beneath your breath. Every person who has ever become valuable in this world had to fight through something unseen, not poverty, not lack of opportunity, but the quiet, relentless enemies within: doubt, fear, and the invisible force Stephen Pressfield calls resistance. Doubt whispers, "You're not ready." Fear hisses, "You'll fail like before." Resistance stands at the gate of every meaningful task and says, "Not today." These forces don't scream. They seduce. They convince you to delay, to shrink, to play small. They don't destroy you with explosions. They erode you with hesitation. And here's the terrifying truth. The greater your potential, the stronger the resistance. Why? Because these inner enemies are indicators of importance. Resistance never shows up when you're doing something meaningless. It only appears when you're on the edge of your becoming. Want to know if something matters to your soul? See how much you procrastinate it. You are not weak for feeling fear. You are not broken for doubting yourself. You are simply human. Every great man or woman has felt the same. What sets the valuable apart is not the absence of these feelings. It's the refusal to bow to them. You must realize fear is not the signal to stop. It is the signpost to proceed with courage. Doubt is not your enemy. It is your invitation to build deeper belief. Resistance is not proof you shouldn't act. It's proof that action is essential. You overcome them not with bravado, but with discipline. Not with talk, but with action. Tiny acts of defiance. One step, one page, one rep, one difficult conversation at a time. Each time you act in spite of resistance, you build resilience. Each time you do the work, even when afraid, you become more real. Each time you show up when it's easier to stay down, you win the inner war. There is no final victory. The war never ends, but you get stronger. And strength, repeated over time, becomes freedom. So when fear comes, greet it. When doubt comes, challenge it. When resistance rises, rise higher, because your value is not forged in easy moments. It is forged in fire. And if you can win in here, in the soul's arena, there's nothing out there that can stop you. There comes a moment in every person's journey when the old self must die, not out of shame, but out of growth. That moment is called reinvention, and it's the beginning of everything new. You were not born to remain a single version of yourself. You were not meant to simply adapt to your circumstances. You were made to evolve beyond them. The seed is not meant to remain a seed. The seed is meant to transform, and so are you. Reinvention is not escape. It's alignment. It's peeling back the layers of conditioning, fear and expectation to ask, who am I really? Who do I now choose to become? That's the sacred power of being human. We are not trees. We are not stuck. We get to change. We get to pivot. We get to grow. But reinvention is costly. It costs comfort. It costs identity. It costs your attachment to who you've been and what others expect of you. It demands that you walk away from the familiar path and build your own road. Think of Malcolm X. Before he was a civil rights icon, he was a prisoner named Malcolm Little, but prison didn't break him. It woke him up. He devoured books, sharpened his mind, rebuilt his values, and emerged not as a statistic, but as a sword of conviction. He didn't tweak his identity. He rebuilt it. That's reinvention. And you, no matter where you've been, no matter what's held you back, can do the same. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to apologize for outgrowing who you used to be, because the world doesn't need the older, dimmer version of you. It needs the you that's ready to rise, the you that shows up with clarity and purpose, the you that knows, I am not here to repeat, I am here to redefine. So ask yourself, what version of me have I outgrown? What part of me is no longer in alignment with who I am becoming? What habits, environments, or identities must be released so I can rise? Because reinvention is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you really are. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. People may not understand. You may feel like you're losing yourself. But what you're actually doing is returning home to yourself. The strongest steel is forged in fire. The highest self is born through reinvention. So let go of the narrative that no longer fits. Drop the script written for a smaller life. Step boldly into the unknown. You are not finished. You are becoming. And your next chapter will be written by who you now decide to be. This is your reinvention.